If you ask me a decision between Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, what I'm looking for is somebody who can come in day one and get America back on track. Donald Trump has done it once. He can do it again.
We've got a great governor. He's done a tremendous job. But what we need is a person who can actually lead on day one.
I think the governor's done a great job in Florida. There's nothing, it's not against Governor DeSantis. It's for President Trump.
Welcome back to State of the Union, and my panel joins me now. That what you just heard were a series of Republican House members from DeSantis' home state of Florida coming out and supporting Donald Trump, just as DeSantis is here in Washington. What do you think of that move, Scott Jennings?
Not surprised. I mean, look, Donald Trump's the establishment candidate in this race. He was the president. He's running for president for a third time. These are establishment politicians, and they tend to stick together in campaigns. Doesn't mean he's going to win, but I wouldn't expect an insurgent candidate like DeSantis to get too many establishment endorsements.
That was very tactical. And
sure.
When they
and it was, by the way, for the Trump campaign, extremely smart, tactically wise, and it created a narrative on DeSantis this week. But when you're running the insurgent kind of campaign, DeSantis, you're not going to get all the elected politicians who are afraid of Donald Trump to come to your side. I don't expect that at all.
Speaking of DeSantis, we do have some new sound from him speaking last night in Utah. I want to hear what he has to say and talk about it on the other side.
Republicans need to shake the culture of losing that has developed in recent years. The time for excuses is over. We must get it done. If we as Republicans provide a fresh vision for American revival, then Republicans will win all across the country.
Paul Begala, he keeps talking about Donald Trump without talking about Donald Trump directly.
Pathetic. He's just terrible at this. He won his reelection by 19 points. I'm very impressed. Florida's a tough state to run. I do admire that. But good night. If you're going to go against Trump, go against Trump. If you're going to be the insurgent, sound like Scott Jennings. Okay? Hire Scott Jennings. No, I mean, Scott, you just articulated it far better than Governor DeSantis did. He said he kind of wanted the endorsements, but then Trump got them all. He was like, you remember, this is a Florida guy, Jose Canseco was one of the greatest sluggers who ever lived. Played in the 80s and 90s. But he's a terrible fielder. And this is DeSantis' baseball player. Canseco one time went out to catch a fly ball, and it bounced off his head and it went over the fence for a home run. That's what Governor DeSantis did this week. He's pathetic at this. And I'm begging him to get better. I don't want Trump. I'd much rather have DeSantis.
Sarah, do you want to continue? Do you want to continue the baseball metaphors?
Can't contribute on the baseball metaphors, but I do think that DeSantis has a point with that electability message. And in a recent poll from the Wall Street Journal that was conducted by Trump's own 2016 pollster, it showed Trump losing to Biden by 3 points, and it showed DeSantis winning against Biden by 3 points. So that would be my message to the folks that are endorsing Trump. Do you want to keep losing? Because I certainly don't as a Republican. I'm tired of losing and I want to win. And so I think that any other candidate would be better to put up against Biden than Trump.
But you can keep saying that. It doesn't make it true. Now, I know for folks who watch Fox News, that seems like that's how you do things. You say it over and over, and then that just creates the reality you want. But the truth is, DeSantis has also time and again just shown he is running farther and farther to the right and being increasingly extreme. And his own people have admitted concern about how do you then run in a general election. So in terms of the electability argument, at least Donald Trump can say he won-ish in 2016, didn't win in 2020, but they haven't let go of that either. I mean, I'm not sure that argument will really work for DeSantis, given that he cannot, as Paul has been saying, he doesn't seem to have the it. Like, I can't imagine him on a debate stage with Donald Trump. You can't talk around him. You're going to have to engage him. He did win in 2016.
100% of the professional Democratic class wants Trump.
Thank you.
100% of the political media wants Trump. 100% of the Trump people want Trump. And 100% of the supposed, pillars of virtue, never Trumpers, they also want Trump. It is a coordinated campaign by all this. I mean, when you've got Donald Trump's people tweeting out MSNBC links to attack Ron DeSantis, this is how they make a living. It's crazy. You don't want DeSantis because he will beat Joe Biden. Virtually, we could pick somebody out of the Peoria phone book who would beat Joe Biden, but you have to have Trump.
I don't know, Scott, my friend. I do not want Donald Trump. I think that is terrible for America. I think it sends a despicable message to the world that we'll take any crook to be our president. I'd rather have DeSantis over Trump, and I think we'd still beat him.
Oh, absolutely. I think most Democrats would be very... Ron DeSantis, he's not getting to the filing deadline, okay? I'd much rather run against him. And I would rather the Republicans nominate someone other than Trump, someone who's not crazy, chaotic, and corrupt. And the rest of their field, I would say that. I don't support them on the issues, but the rest of them seem like really good people with different ideas. But he's the SpaceX missile rocket, except it at least got to the launch pad.
Right.
But can you imagine if Republicans are able to nominate someone like Ron DeSantis, who's in his 40s, and he's running against Joe Biden, who's 80? And with Trump, at least he neutralizes the age issue. I agree, he's a threat to democracy, which is why I do not want to see him be the nominee. But you can't deny that for Democrats, if Trump is the nominee, then that does neutralize the age
Sarah,
issue.
that is a perfect segue into a soundbite that I want to play from the president from back in March of 2020. And here's what he said on that issue.
Look, I view myself as a bridge, not as anything else. There's an entire generation of leaders you saw stand behind me. They are the future of this country.
It's a very long bridge, an 8-year bridge.
A pretty rickety bridge, by the way.
Actually, a pretty strong bridge where we are now able to be sitting around the same table, which we could not do in 2020 or 2021, and an economy that, while people still have a lot of anxiety, is actually doing better. It is also a bridge, though. I go back to what he said when he first got in the race, the soul of America. Let's talk about where this country is right now. We had 3 incidents this week where young people were shot for just being in the wrong place. Why? You have people on the right, like Donald Trump, basically saying, we're each other's enemy, right? I mean, again, fueling that suspicion and that divisiveness and that destruction of our American democratic institutions and our culture. You have young voters who will outnumber older voters who are for reproductive freedom, they are for climate change, they are for gun safety measures. And so the way the demographics of this country are changing, I get it. White establishment is terrified of it. Joe Biden is a bridge, and he has been trying to keep a bridge. He has a very stellar record to run on. He actually also has a record of promises made and promises kept, and people are generally pretty happy with that.
This is an amazing campaign speech. Joe Biden is an old man. The American people do not want him to run again, and they don't want Donald Trump. This is a rematch nobody wants. Democrats don't want Joe Biden, but apparently they're going to go along with it. It's crazy to me that 80% of the American people would rather do anything else, but the political system is going to give them the rematch they don't want. Biden is not popular. His policies are not popular. He didn't win. Donald Trump lost it. The Republicans could do anything else and beat this guy, and we're not going to do it.
Defied history in 2022.
Paul Begala, what's the advice that you would have, or you do have, for President Biden when it comes to the age issue, which is not going to go away?
Show, don't tell. People, I don't mean to bang them. The New York Times editorial was like a classic of opinion stupidity. They said he should have more press conferences. Well,
what's wrong with that?
Because you're the press, you want more press conferences.
How about a press conference?
Okay, but that's not what the American people are not sitting around and say, boy, I wish Dana Bash would ask Biden more questions. Show it. He showed it in the State of the Union address, right? In a, I thought, unpleasant way. Republicans interrupted him. They booed him. He bested them. That's hard to do. Okay, I've written a lot of State of the Union addresses. I've attended a lot of them. In real time, to argue them down and take Social Security as a win was masterful, and it showed all the energy and acuity that his conservative detractors say he lacks. This will happen again on the fight over the default. Democrats believe that Republicans want to push us to the brink of default, and the Biden folks, they know that their man is itching for this fight, and he will show again. Instead of telling, I'm not too old, he'll show them by performing and by besting them, and they are 20, 30 years younger. You know what? He made mincemeat out of them. He made chumps out of them. He's going to do it again.
I will say, though, it will be really interesting to see. In 2020, Biden was able to get away with campaigning from the basement because of COVID. And so in 2024, he is going to have to be out there more. Obviously, he's the incumbent president, so it's not going to be, as rigorous of a campaign schedule for him. He's not going to have a competitive primary or anything like that. But I think he is going to have to be out there doing more campaign-style events. And it is interesting that his team is choosing to announce via video next week his candidacy. But it is smart because they can, control the message because he is prone to gaffes.
We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for a great discussion.